Good morning on this, shortened week, Christmas week. Everybody's excited about that. Obviously, tomorrow is a day off, so it's the shortened week. This is expiration, so it's going to be a very, very interesting day. Hopefully, let's see. We've actually been slowing down a little bit. If we go back to Monday, let's just do that. Let's start off this whole week. We were down over 600 points early on, finished the day over 400 points to the downside, 300 points on the Nasdaq. It was getting sold. The turnaround was absolutely sharp and amazing, but on Tuesday, the market starts accelerating and we absolutely skyrocket. We're up 560 points on the Dow. We're up 360 points on the Nasdaq, erasing the losses from the previous day and then some. And then we come into yesterday and it starts to slow down a little bit more. We've watched the volatility index this week as it's gone from low mid 20s, underneath 20, underneath 19. And it's been a really rapid round trip, and we are seeing the markets not terribly far at all from all-time highs. Matter of fact, close enough that it's a possibility that we might see some of that today. We'll see how that plays out, but it's been an amazing run. So yesterday, Dow finishes up the day 260 points to the upside, Nasdaq 180 points to the upside. Really pretty impressive because we closed virtually on the highs of the session. So as we start off today, it's basically picked up and starting to move forward already. If I look at crude, though, that's an area that I think has been really interesting. We talked about crude not too many days ago, trading in the 60s. Matter of fact, we got even a little bit low. We were like 66 not too terribly long ago, but we were underneath 70, and now here we are trading very close to 73. We got the 10-year just kind of hanging around this area, call it between 145 and underneath 1.5. We've had a hard time getting back up to 1.5 or even getting anywhere close to through 1.5. Volumes absolutely have started to dry up this week. That's much more normal, actually. That's not a negative, that's just normal. But in the past, we didn't see that. As a matter of fact, during this pandemic, that wasn't something we had seen. Into different holidays, it just continued to have incredible volumes. This is far closer to normal. We've been averaging somewhere, call it 43 million contracts a day. Yesterday, 33 million contracts traded. Tesla, almost 2 million. Apple, 1.7 million. NVIDIA, the next one up at 700,000. Those were your leaders. Seems like similar names more often than not, and it's just part of the normalcy that we've been seeing. So yesterday, I talked about volatility getting back underneath 19. We closed the day on the lows at 1860. So the markets closed on the highs, volatility closes on the lows. Things are getting a lot more closer to a little bit more of a normalcy, including the kind of movement, because we had that extraordinary hit on Monday, the extraordinary bounce back on Tuesday, and then yesterday, a nice day, but not nearly the kind of volume and not nearly the kind of movement, about half the size of the movement that we have seen in the previous two sessions. We'll see if that's something that holds out. Obviously, we got an interesting week next week after we get through the Christmas holidays, as we get towards New Year. So what was really kind of pushing the markets around a little bit in movement? Consumer discretionary was definitely one side of things. It started off the day about 0.5%, actually finished the day close to a 2% run. Tech, same sort of thing. Started off a little flat, started to move to the upside, finished up 1.3% or so. Microsoft leading the way there. I tell you what, those FANG names, absolutely impressive how when they start to turn, just pulling up the NASDAQ in a big way. But it was PayPal, it was Apple, it was Cisco, it was NVIDIA, a lot of those different names to the upside. We also had Tesla with the consumer discretionary really leading the charge. Tesla up about 7% yesterday. Starbucks, Home Depot, you get the idea. Nice participation and a broad participation within the sectors themselves. ConocoPhillips with energy, along with Chevron, along with ExxonMobil. You also got a lot of those beta names that were working to the upside, Pioneer, EOG. So we saw a nice move from being fairly flat early on to a nice little bit of a move to the upside for the energy space as well. So when I look at some of the weakness in the markets, let's start there because we'll finish with some of the strength. But the weakness, Moderna, once again, a little bit of a pressure on that one. Peloton joining the crowd once again. We talk about it each and every day, but it seems like it's down a couple of percent almost on a daily basis. It's had that run, did have one run this past week, but it's definitely a little bit more on the opposite side where it's been going down, 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 down. At some point, it's probably going to get pretty daggone interesting, especially when we look and see where the stock was, where it is now, and then dig a little bit deeper. But I think it's still a little bit early. Zoom, Facebook, those names getting pushed around a little bit, and some of those Chinese names as well, trying to be a little bit of a drag. But industrial space, absolutely ripping. You had Caterpillar, you had Boeing, you had UPS, those kind of names really starting to push things to the upside, and the reopen. We talk about this a lot, especially this past week. We've been talking about what really stands out in reopen style trades. When you look at cruise ship, you look at airlines, you look at hotels, all of those having strength and a nice big push to the upside over the last couple of trading sessions. We start off the day today. We get those jobless numbers, basically about what was expected, I think, for the most part, but a feeling of kind of being quiet early on. Yeah, we were up 100 points in the pre-market. Now we're up about 200 points on the Dow. NASDAQ was up just a little bit, call it 30 points. Now that's up about 80 points. Just a nice momentum, sort of a move to the upside. We'll see if that can continue as we get into the close of the day and expiration itself. Crude, basically the same spot, call it 73. 10-year, same spot, a little bit closer to 1.5 though, 148. So that's something. Look at that volatility index. Just been getting pressed down, down, down. Moments ago, last I looked, it was trading about 18.10. We might close underneath 18 today as we start to price in the longer weekend. There's a really good chance, unless we start to see something else develop, there's a really good chance that we could see this underneath 18 as we start to price ahead a little bit. So that'll be interesting. So some of the movement that we are seeing early on, we had energy leading. We have that nice move towards 73 through 73 early on with crude. And you had those energy names really starting to move to the upside. That's pulled back a little bit. Financials have pulled back just a little bit, but you look over at technology, ripping, and you look over at the semiconductors, absolutely having a pretty nice, after the start of the day, a little bit soft, starting to work a little bit more to the upside. Bitcoin, still trading pretty decently, but just underneath that 49,000 level last I looked. So the reopen is still here. We look at those casino stocks today. Look at Las Vegas Sands, look at Wynn, some of those names moving to the upside. Yesterday, we had different names that were leading the charge as well. You've also got Dow itself. Dow having a really nice day. You got the financials from JP Morgan, American Express. Take a look at Goldman Sachs, even an AIG, all in positive territory and sort of fueling a little bit of what's going on with the financials. Industrials, Caterpillar, again, having a pretty decent day. Honeywell, 3M, those are sort of the leaders in the industrial space. Beta Energy just continues. When we get these moves in oil, in crude, those beta type names really do stand out. You know, I'm looking at Marathon, I'm looking at ConocoPhillips, I'm looking at APA, I'm looking at Schlumberger, I'm looking at all those kind of names having a nice move to the upside. Just take a look at the XOP. A lot of those names that I'm mentioning are parts of the ETF, the XOP. So Moderna, down a little bit. Chinese names, down a little bit. You got NetEase, you got Baidu, you got JD, you got PDD, all those names a little bit of a push to the downside. Oh, and Peloton once again, throw in Zoom, both getting a little bit more of a hammering again today, pulling out a little bit here and there, but it's just part of this whole thing as we talk about reopen trade. Well, some of those names that were absolutely part of the shutdown are starting to be some of the names that are continuing to be those names day after day after day that are getting pressed to the downside. Got two unusuals for you, and then I just want to wish everybody a very safe and a Merry Christmas and a happy holidays to everybody. Number one, I mentioned casinos. How about Las Vegas Sands itself? The very first hit today for our unusual option activity. 38.80 was where the stock was. Got a buyer of 5,100 of the December 31st expiring 40 strike call. So it's giving you a little over a week, and you've got the 40 strike call. Stock is not too far away from that level. Those are going for about 60 cents up to about 74 cents. We'll see if that can continue. We've been watching these casinos starting to get a little bit more legs to the upside. Uber, this stands out. Why? Well, we've had 5 bullish hits just this week alone in Uber. Today, stock trading just underneath 43. We got a buyer of 10,000, and this is also unusual. They're going out to March. The March 50 calls, 10,000 of those calls, the March 50 calls getting bought up for about $1.80 up to about $1.85. So very, very aggressively positioning in that name. And like I say, 5 different hits that were all bullish this week. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind as well. Folks, have a great, safe holidays, and I look forward to seeing you on Monday. Have a great day. Oh, we do also have Tom Lee tonight, 3 o'clock, right at the close. You're going to want to tune in. Market Rebellion, we've got our round table. Tom Lee is unbelievable. We got to hear what he's going to talk about. What does Tom Lee see for 2022? That's what we'll be hitting. Have a great day of trading.